Hey everyone, welcome to the Unreal Engine weekly Twitch live stream. I'm Community Manager Ivey, and I'm here with our QA leads, Nick Bullard-Bradley and Chelsea Curran, and
this guy.
Yeah, and Ray Davis, General Manager of Engine, Ray Davis. We're going to talk over quality assurance, how we approach it for Engine, some things you can do for your own games, and some of our future processes. And the team's put together a slide deck that we're going to kind of go through. I know presentations, but this one's a little bit more fun. So we're going to have
Is this the one where we announce public Jira? Is that coming?
Is where we announce it?
Someday.
It's somewhere in there.
It's actually in the future process thing.
It
might be a sub bullet of that. I don't know. I don't have the notes in front of me.
Okay.
So I can't really tell you.
Well, and for our audience, we should give you a warning. Chance has apparently a killer headache, so if he's way off his game.
Yeah, if I say things that... So if I say things...
Are you going to start speaking in tongues now or something?
If I say things that are more off than normal, because I'm
right.
usually just kind of this awkward dude up here. It's just kind of like, yeah. But if it's really bad, let me know and I'll make sure to
shit,
more
we dropped the ball, man. No plaid. Not a single plaid. Four people on.
I know. Yeah,
but
maybe that's why I have a headache.
We have a Pokeball. That's pretty cool. That's a new thing for our stream.
Maybe that's why the headache is
you know?
Yeah,
you have an allergic reaction to Pokemon?
Yeah, no, I have allergic reaction to not plaid. Like, it's like a lifeline.
Oh, that makes sense, yeah.
Anyway,
okay.
Let's hop over to the news before we dive into everything else. So a little light on news this week. We're preparing for a release.
What are you talking about? We got Preview 4 out this week. That's freaking amazing.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's a lot of heads down heading into to 4.8, but Preview 4 for 4.8 dropped out yesterday.
Yep.
So you can go grab it now, poke holes in it, find all the things that we're also finding, and hop over to the forums here where Steven's got a list of
all the things
known issues. Yeah. So if you run into something, you're wondering if it's on our radar, you can check it out here and say, yep, Epic's got me covered. All right. One more item here on the blog I wanted to call out, that at Casual Connect Asia, a couple of indie prizes were taken. Actually, a number of indie prizes were taken by a couple of UE projects. Both Scar, The Blade Remains, and Unreal Dev Grant recipient Adrian Lazar and Planet Alpha 31.
That's awesome.
Went out there and swept some of those awards.
Big smiles.
Oh yeah. Cesar. Anyway, so you can catch part of the recap there, and Adrian's even written a really great recap on his work in progress thread on the forums where you can kind of see a picture of him on stage holding his board and stuff. I'm like, you go. All right.
Cool.
And so that's really all we got on news outside of us being we're going to E3 in a couple weeks. I think Ray, you're going to join us out there?
Yeah, I'm going to be out there for a few days as well. Hopefully we have some cool stuff to talk about that in the coming weeks, right?
Yeah, we've got some plans. If you're working on a game that's going to be at the show, please let us know so we can come by, say hi, grab a picture with you, and see how we can help out while we're there. And we'd love to meet you guys if we haven't. If we have, we'd love to hang out, go grab coffee or whatever.
yeah, absolutely.
So
can we get a double tall for headache guy over here?
Yes, I know. That's really bad. All right, before we hop directly into the video for the Community Spotlight, we're looking over the Game Jam games from May. So May's theme was Raining Cats and Dogs, which we got a wide variety as usual.
Some great humorous entries, yes.
Yeah, and so basically all these games were created in a little over 3 days. 27 valid submissions came through. There were 28 actually submitted, but one of them wouldn't load, and I'm a little sad about that. So Michael Aller had issues with it as well. I made sure I went and watched his stream. By the way,
just user error.
If you don't know, I was making sure it's not me. No, by the way, on these jams, you can check out it's twitch.tv/AwesomeAller. That's the same as his YouTube. He goes through and he plays them all and comments them all after we drop the deadline at midnight. And it's about 9 hours of him just sitting through and playing games until the morning. The guy's a little crazy, but
that's awesome.
Let's hop into the video real quick and we'll take a look at what was all created this month. Oh good, I gave you the right video.
Sled cats. Heck yeah.
It was like raining, REIGN.
What the heck is going on here?
That's awesome.
It's a 2-player breakout type game where only one type of ball hurts you.
Wow. Huh?
Rainbow.
I love the rainbow. Nyan Cat-esque.
Robot unicorn attack. I'm glad you brought up Nyan Cat. Because.
Oh, is it one? Are you spoiling? Cat Former 3D.
Ah!
That's awesome.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, when I was right when Nyancat came out, I made a UDK prototype that had a Nyancat gun.
Is that how we pronounce that?
Nyan cat.
Nyan. I mean, it's not Nyan, that's for sure. That one is actually just a VR experience where you're just chilling on a porch in a cabin in
That
the rain.
sounds fantastic.
It's awesome. Yeah, I loved it.
What was his studio name? Cranky something?
I'd have to look it up. I can't rewind the video.
Pickleman Games. God, these are entertaining. Numbat Ninja.
Yeah, you're
Oh,
supposed to.
jeez.
You're supposed to guide the
Cat
ball
avalanche.
without. Yeah, you're supposed to guide the ball.
Oh, it's poopy time.
Yeah, you roll toilet paper.
I say that every day to my little 3-year-old daughter. What the?
Happy clouds.
This is kind of a
Wow, this
like
looks complex, yeah?
yeah, it's a kind of strategy game. It's one where you're shooting balls at dogs in the face.
Oh, and then they drop cats. Cool.
Okay.
Ship at sea.
That just
Whoa.
makes me think of Queen, the
Awesome.
name of this game, Thunderbolt and Lightning.
Mhm.
Yeah,
The cat
it's
dog.
like a shootout type game where you click on the screen.
Holy crap.
A little out of theme, but kind of crazy.
Whoa.
And you're an ant shooting raindrops. A lonely storm.
Impressive arsenal for that ant.
This is neat.
Tokyo storm. Yeah, and then. Yeah, pugs are kind of the best. Shelly, do you have pugs? You have 2 pugs.
2 pugs.
Cat Interstellar.
Huh? Oh, there's like little detective things on them.
It's a trap.
Ah!
Thunderblade. Cucumberos.
That's a cool.
Whoa.
Watch your enemies die.
Excellent.
All right.
So yeah, those are the 27 games that came across, and let's hop into the 3 winners. So first up, we've got, if it will load, cool. This one is Midnight Oil by NX3 Games. So this is kind of a, you're in a house while it's storming outside, and it's kind of an exploration puzzle game
Mm-hmm.
with basically all you've got is this little CRT here
Okay.
that you've got to interact with.
Okay.
And it kind of has you solve these idioms by going and exploring the house, and then it lets you do more things.
Okay.
So
Cool.
most people have picked up on the idioms of our, game jams, Raining Cats and Dogs, back to
Mhm.
square one. So back to the drawing board. And so you type in things, you might say begin, restart. If it doesn't know, you can just hit quit, or you can hit help. It gives you a better to return to where you first started. So this one took me some time to figure out. There's some pretty deep puzzles in here, but
Yeah. That's
I know some of them, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of rush through it a little bit. But turning back to where I started in the level, there's a new painting here
Ooh.
with 9 balloons on it. So I can come back over here. I'll just kind of explore over here. You can see what the rest of the map looks like. There's this room in here with a tiny little bird butt out there. I can maybe grab it.
Can go a little closer.
Yeah, this one's just a little. This is
Ah.
Let's drop it over there by the light and see if I can read it. So bird call. So there's a few things you can explore
Cool.
or research. All right, so I had 9 balloons. I'm going to come back to this and say, okay, see if I can solve that puzzle. Dun, dun, dun.
You can do it.
I can probably solve it if I can't.
Ballon. Yeah, I don't know what a ballon is either. Balloons? Huh.
9. It was 9.
Ah.
Okay, great. So it's all Greek to me. And I say help. Incomprehensible text. All right, so I'm going to quit here and see if anything's changed. So there's a little bookcase here now
Oh.
with a bunch of books that don't look like they have anything on them. Meow. Yeah. All right. And then the light over here and Hellenistic and Roman periods. Wow. I wonder if that has anything to do with the Greek part of it. So the team has cleverly hidden the clue right here. It's GR323. And come over here. back
Is
to
that
the
clever
top.
or mean?
Not CR, GR323. Oh wait, GT3. Boom, cup of Joe. All right, so let's do hint. Oh, it's
Help.
Sorry. Thanks, Ray. You're better than this.
Cup of Joe is coffee.
Yeah. So I was gonna say it can't be coffee, right? So there's a new coffee pot right here.
Ooh.
And yeah, this actually took me a couple hours to actually solve this. It makes me want like what Loading Humans got for like the way you can
Roast.
yeah take a look at an object. All right, so
okay.
roast.
Cool,
Try
cool.
roast. Get out of here, coffee pot. Get out of my hands. All right, so let's try roast. Everything but the kitchen sink. I'm just gonna skip this one.
By the way, there's oh, are you cheating?
Yes.
There's disbelief. A couple of hours. Really?
It did.
Really?
It really, yeah. It took me some time. I'm not the brightest person in the world, y'all. I hit the books, help, study up.
Do you have your cheat sheet?
I don't.
Because that would have been useful.
It really would have.
We planned ahead on this one.
So now in here we've got a table. Arbitrary guide to weather patterns. Okay. Accumulating, dissipating, cumulonimbus. All right, so maybe it's clouds. I feel like I'm stuck in this house. Like as you solve these things, it gets bigger.
Yeah.
And you get to go.
Oh, well, we've got the creator on the Twitch stream. Maybe he can just give us all the answers.
Oh, is it Aaron?
Yeah, he's in the chat there.
Thanks, Aaron. Boom. Knock on wood. All right. So help. Knuckle tapping on the wood multiple times for good luck. Thanks, Frank Underwood. All right. Last one over here, and then we'll hop on to the next one.
Okay.
And come knock on this door.
Ooh.
And then get outside.
Okay, stairs and rain.
Yeah, it's like somebody left the attic door open or something. To my observatory. And this is a shot from the video, but yep. So here I am.
Cool.
Ta-da! Anyway, great work.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
That was neat.
That's really
So
cool.
the second one up, this is one we need the controllers for. So you guys ready?
Oh no.
All right.
All right. Did I
You
win
got it,
yet?
Chelsea.
You've almost won.
Okay.
Wait, well, no.
Bring it on.
Don't tell me anything.
All right,
Oh,
so
okay.
Chelsea, you are number 1. This is Thunderblade. It's going to go 3, 2, 1. You're both going to jump out there, and it's going to tell you on the screen what to tap based on the Xbox layout. So I know you're on a PlayStation controller over there, but imagine them being the same.
Oh,
Wow.
no.
now you tell me.
All right.
I got
so
this, though.
Let me see if I can go full screen on this guy.
All right.
Boom. All right.
And
So Chelsea, you have to start by hitting A. All right, there you go. All right. So Chelsea, you're on the left. Ray, you're on the right. All right. So tap A. Both just go.
just
go at
smash it?
Yep.
Smash the crap out of it. I'm smashing. Oh, X. Oh, I know X. Haha. Can't fight me. Oh, look at this crap. I told you I'm going to win.
Hey.
Should I let her win? I don't know.
What? There's no way you're gonna win.
Oh yeah.
Oh, we're getting turbo on this shit.
My anxiety is extremely high right now.
My arm's about to fall off, guys. There we go. Moment of weakness.
No.
Come on. I should have won this game already. Okay, I give up.
No, you can't go. I don't want to win by that way.
Almost there.
I feel like my buttons are broken because I'm pressing.
Yeah. It's the camera.
Aha, see?
All right.
Success.
So I cannot handle another one of those. It wants you to go a few rounds. My body can't do
No,
it.
that's too much. That was fun though.
Okay.
I want to play that for Game On next time.
Well,
Yeah.
it's funny because like the first thing somebody posted on the thread, and the first comment for it was like green light. All right, and the last one we got is Lonely Storm.
All right.
I feel like that's how we should solve conflicts now here.
Yes, I feel
Yeah.
like this would be a really useful tool.
All right, so Lonely Storm, you're this little interesting bugger. Dun, And you've got to go collect these seeds and bring them back to this tree and
Oh.
stay out of the rain. But you've got this cool thing called albino mode that lets you both run fast and it can stop the rain. Not like Creedence Clearwater Revival. Y'all, CCR. No? Nothing?
Yeah, yeah.
If you get rained on, you die, by the way.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to try to... So there's a seed over there. The clouds kind of sweep in at a time that's really inopportune.
Oh, big seeds.
Whoa.
Give me that seed. This is normally how I carry everything.
No, he's got good body
Like
strength.
I'm
there,
home,
yeah.
I'm like, oh gosh, here comes the rain. Oh no, oh no, oh no. Whew. All right, delivered. And see, yeah, you can see these. Hershey Kiss is gigantic rain.
That's not
But I
rain,
can-
I'm telling you.
But I can stop it, yeah, as albino.
Okay.
And I'll let it go again. So if I'm out there stuck and I've got, you know,
You can at least run to cover. Yeah.
yeah, I can figure out how to not die.
Cool.
You don't always want to waste your albino mode though while you're just kind of hurrying, because if you don't have it and you get stuck in a rainstorm. Does the sound effects help?
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
they do.
Okay, good.
I was hoping that was the actual ones.
Oh. Well, yeah. It should be. I don't want to dock them too much right now. Yay, shiny. Oh, does it? Oh, cool. Oh.
Aw.
Alright. And I got this whole thing. Not really sure what that does. Maybe gives me more albino mode. I probably should have read the instructions on that. But.
Whoa.
Oh gosh, did that hurt?
No, it gave you full albino mode.
sweet.
Yeah. Oh.
I think I'm about to get rained on, so I'm gonna grab this guy and try to hide under this rock. Plenty of little spots that you can kind of, you know, like. Well, there's the tree.
I see sunbeams. I don't see rain, dude.
Well, I don't think I can get.
Oh,
See,
yeah,
see how
yeah.
quickly it comes in?
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't really. This storm does not mess around. It kind of is chocolate rain. Delivering seeds.
Cool.
I expect sound effects with this one.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. All right, cool. And that wraps the game. So
Cool.
all teams will be receiving an epic swag pack with all kinds of little goodies in it, including a Game Jam shirt, which I know I've been saying for months now, but we actually have them on their way here, and so a lot of teams
Cool.
will be receiving theirs very soon. I know a lot of you guys are waiting on shirts and swag. If I have not heard from you or you have not heard from me, let's try to connect soon so we can go ahead and get your things printed and mailed out to you. There's still a couple of teams that are not quite complete, and but outside of that, we're finally making good on promises of last fall. Right?
Awesome.
We'll get there eventually.
So yeah, stay on the lookout for the next announce. It'll probably be around the E3 timeframe based on our current cadence. But
Cool.
yeah, great stuff.
Those
We'll
are
see what you got
awesome.
next month.
Yeah.
All right.
And
I'm jealous now that I had to sit here. I would have played that game instead of.
Well, you know, I did pretty poorly, so maybe we can.
We'll have a rematch,
Rematch
later.
later.
So we have the build now.
Yeah,
I mean, we can just
okay.
put it on share.
Cool. Cool.
All right, let's talk QA.
We're gonna dive in.
Hey.
Yeah. So
Man,
what's
this
up?
stuff.
Hi, welcome.
Yeah.
I'll give you this too, since you'll have a few items that you might want to show.
What do we want to bring up first?
I'll let you pick.
You'll let him pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just drag it to the right if you want it to go live.
I see all the things now.
And then there's a little present.
It's that play button.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Big
And
thing,
then
man.
I love that. Are you sure you really want to go full screen? This is like the old Microsoft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you want to
Oh.
cancel? Oh, you misclicked.
I misclicked. Click happy.
So our goal here is just to kind of tell you a little bit about what we do on the QA side and kind of give you some insight into how we perform quality assurance here at Epic, and kind of give you some ideas and hear ideas from you on how you make a quality project and make sure that your product, and in terms of us, the engine, is quality so you guys can use it. So we're going to go a little bit over our preview process, which you guys are familiar with, the build process and the branch process, which you're probably not quite familiar with.
Yep.
Then some general testing structures, process, and methodology. Some of this stuff is QA standard. Some of it is specialized for us here at Epic. And then we'll talk about future improvements where we see the department moving and where you guys want us to move in the future to make sure that we deliver you the best product that we can and help you guys deliver your products because we love playing them, obviously.
No, I mean, that's always our at least for me, that's always the best thing is just I love working on the engine, but it's always it's that tool that lets you guys get what's in your mind out and just make these awesome things. And so it's always very satisfying, like these last few games, like everybody's got a different idea of what they want to do, and just being able to see that different vision come out, and it's awesome to see.
Yeah, and it's on that note too. It's like it's great to watch it like over time to see people actually progress. I mean, these were built in just 3 days.
Right.
A lot of these teams will take those games and it's like, you know what, this is kind of great, and then you just watch them just kind of use a lot of the newer features, more advanced stuff that we've been putting in the engine, and really be successful, in that creativity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so with structure inside, we mainly work out of a couple different branches. We use Perforce here for source control. So for those that use GitHub, there's the master branch. Main is continuously always going. New development, new things are happening. And with UE3, we only had one branch, so when we would do a QA build, we would kind of halt production of what's happening just to stabilize over a course of a week. With UE4, we have so much going on that, and the company has grown to such a size it's just not viable to put a halting stop to what everyone's doing. So we went with the branching strategy of we'll get to a certain sustaining point, feature complete for what we want to put out for whatever build, and then we'll branch into the new releases. And then from there, we start stabilizing as much as possible, as fast as possible, testing between local Perforce builds, GitHub builds, internal binary builds from the launcher.
Well, and once we create that first release branch, it's not far after that we get our first preview build out there.
Yeah,
right.
right.
Yeah,
branch day is an exciting day. It's like, yay, that means it. I mean, it's exciting for some people. Some people it means a lot of work, right?
Yeah.
But it means that we're about to see like the first, steps of that new.
Yeah, I think it's, our first step towards seeing the big new features. I mean, we get the opportunity to get feedback from you guys on what we're doing, and I think, the preview phase is great for that aspect. I mean, branch day is a scary day in a lot of ways for QA people, but it really starts to sort of ramp up the excitement on what we're delivering to you guys. So just to kind of go back there, it's a single a main trunk structure rather than feature-based QA, which can sometimes be a multi-branch structure. So you'll hear that happen sometimes too. So in QA, there are kind of several ways that we do this, but we could do, rather than doing feature-based integrations, this branching is really much easier for us. So this way of doing it makes it easier for us to test the product as a whole, rather than having feature-based integrations, which can be really difficult to manage.
Yeah, I think if you look at traditional Perforce is sort of built around that legacy style of a single main, and it works pretty well for us, I think, right now in our branching structure, although we talked about maybe, looking past 4.8 and 4.9 of introducing, more stable branch checkpoints along the process, so that we're not allowing the main to get too off from a shippable build, right? But we also, like you guys, I don't know, sorry if I'm jumping ahead, but like Halo testing around stuff, right? Like, last year we had a big effort on parallel rendering, which we knew meant a lot of heavy lifting in the engine. So we actually had that as an entire separate branch alongside main. But those tend to be the special cases, right? This is definitely, much more of Wild West. Everybody check in at the same time all the time. Hope it compiles? No, it definitely compiles at one point. Actually, the thing that really complicates it, right, is the number of platforms we support, right? Because you can have code that seems perfectly fine on Windows, and it's totally just wreaked havoc on Android, whatever over here, right?
Yeah, it's a big beast to keep all stable all the time, and but yeah. So as Chance was saying, as soon as we get branch, we want to get that preview out as fast as possible, because one, for us, it just is, as much as we can test, and this is probably one of the best quotes I've heard, especially coming to Epic, is like, we can do anything here, but we can't do everything at once. And so like, we could take the same build and test it for a year and probably still wouldn't get the coverage that we get with your guys' help with it. And it's just, there's no way of doing that, because, there's so many different pathways of like, oh, I did it this way, except for I made this one checkbox. It's always the checkbox.
It's always
always the
It's
checkbox.
always the checkbox.
So, and there's just different ways, and making sure like you want to know when you come to 4.8 or 4.9, like your product works as much as our product, and so getting feedback, getting the bugs back. I think this time around we had something 60 or 70 bugs reported by the community, and
Yeah.
and those are just ones I think we didn't know about. I'm not sure. At
There's
least
probably some overlap with stuff that
Yep.
they found.
Yeah.
That we
yeah,
didn't
there's
too, right?
there's a few that it's good to see that
Yeah.
what how we're testing things, we're catching them along with you guys as well.
I remember when we made the change, Ray and I came on to talk about the differences in the new preview builds, and at first it was kind of like a scarier thing because it's like we're just actually putting something broken out there for you. It's less of a beta, right, and more of like a here is kind of where we are state, and reception's been really positive, right?
Well, we even talked about changing the name because some people think preview, it's feature preview, right? It's really, no, it's preview as in, oh my God, please, use this at your own, warning or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think we actually ran into that with 4.7 is a lot of people picked up the previews, probably too many people, and then we had a lot of like, oh my God, I've converted my project, I'm totally hosed. And we're like, don't do that yet,
Yeah.
But we've been working on improving it, make it a little bit safer to check it out and then provide that feedback, right?
Yeah, it's like we've added the language to the launcher. It's like, here be dragons, be careful with it. But it's been really beneficial for us, and we hope it has been for you too, to at least get in and see what you're gonna run into if you do upgrade a project in the future and kind of know what's coming.
Just before we move on, I saw there was some conversation about how we use Perforce internally and GitHub being public. I don't think there's any specific, if it was feasible to make our Perforce public, we totally would. There's a lot of legacy reasons. Some are just the challenges of hosting large binary files in GitHub. I know they're still working to release their support of that. Our solution is we've had Perforce internally. We have a ton of pipelines that we've been built around this over many years.
Integrations.
Yeah, integrations and how the game teams consume it and all that kind of stuff. And so we opted with this mirror it to GitHub, straight from Perforce. And I think the latency is minimal, right? It's like within 30 seconds, a change will be pushed out there, right?
There are several times talking with devs, they'll be like, community member has reported something back to me faster than CSI.
Yeah.
CIS, and
that's awesome.
It's just, hey, this
is that our new scalable CIS?
Yeah.
Humans.
This broke.
Yeah, and so I would say like there is no difference between the source code we have for the engine on GitHub and what we use every day in Perforce, right? God, if that was the case, it'd be a nightmare. I imagine how many things we would get wrong there. So, anyways, sorry to derail.
No, it wasn't.
That's why I'm here, just to go sideways.
But yeah, I mean, for one of the things, at least on our side, I'm always very curious. Like when people pull down the preview, is like, what are most of you guys using it for? Like, is it just to check out new features? Is it how's my project looking for this? Is it so that's always one of those things, because that definitely kind of changes. Like, if we're gonna message out previews and it's like these are the new features and these are the things that we've been testing, but also things we'd like to see other people kind of take a look at as well and give feedback on them, because it's not just the functionality side of new tools and features that comes out. It's how well does this actually work for development? So
yeah, absolutely. Getting that user experience and workflow feedback is super valuable part of our process. Because we always have ideas, but that's the thing we quickly learned is people want to do all kinds of things with the engine that we never thought of. And we still want to make that reasonably possible.
Which is actually awesome. Like that's like really an inspiring thing. It's like, holy crap, I never thought about that, right?
Yeah, no. It's scary and awesome at the same time.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, and somebody made a comment too, passing by. Just jump in there. Even single one-man teams should use source control. That's absolutely true.
Yeah, forever.
Oh yeah.
If nothing else, like there's so many times I've been working on a project, I'm like, why the hell do I do this? Oh, I can actually go back and like, oh, that's what I was trying to do, right?
I can't tell you how many times I've actually in the past had a project that I've got. It was me contracting for somebody, so it's like my livelihood, and my computer just stops working, and I'm like,
I know.
I'm out, right? Like I have to have something.
I had a proverbial hard drive failure once on it was a roguelike I was making, and actually for once in my life made it pretty far. Like it was playable. It had gotten past the point of making little roguelikes or text-based RPGs for those people who don't know. Actually built the whole little engine thing and made it playable, was making it fun, and then hard drive, poof. It's like, well, I guess I'm done. All right, what video games have I missed out on the last year and a half?
Yeah, I even do that with
Yes.
my.
And
my
revert changes too is the best feature, because there's so many
Yes.
times you're like, I'm gonna go try to do this. Holy crap!
That was bad.
Yeah.
I've
That was
I've made
bad.
it so much worse.
Yep.
This
Yeah,
never happened.
When you can selectively save specific files at a
Yes.
granular level, you
Yes.
know, and have those commits pulled in and out
Yeah,
by other
absolutely.
teams. I even do that with projects between a Mac and a PC.
Yep.
I have one GitHub repo that I'll pull to both.
Mhm.
And that way, it's just I know that wherever I go, whatever machine I'm working on at my desk or
Yep.
on the road, I still have my project with me, right?
Yeah, and especially now, what was it with 4.7? We released the GitHub plugin, right?
Yep. Thanks,
Makes it-
Sebastian.
Sebastian, yeah, you are the awesome. Yeah, it makes it super trivial, like even your projects until they get to a certain size. But even then, I think it's like a couple of gigs before you start running into things where you need to find more clever solutions, right?
Yeah, and I mean a lot of things, and I'll even suggest it to some of the artists around here. You know, crashes do happen, so like we have autosaves, we have the backup files, but also
Yeah.
making use of the check-in and recheck-out feature.
Mhm.
So you're just kind of sustaining like, oh, instead of, I kind of just have checkpoints of where I was at over
Right.
time, and
Mhm.
it just makes it easier to iteratively go back on, you know,
That's-
especially maps and stuff, like where you've made a lot of changes in the last hour. It's like,
And you can't like merge them easy.
Yep.
Like they're a lot more difficult. I had a friend once describe it to me when I was learning Git the first time. He's like, commits are just checkpoints.
Yep.
He's like, I've done something, save. You know what I mean? I've done something, save. I've done something,
Mhm.
save, and then you push once you've got all those. But you still have all like those save points
Yep.
pushed with that
Yep.
commit up, right?
Cool. All right.
So
Slide next.
slide next.
So if you've ever wondered what our team looks like,
Is this why you guys were taking photos?
Yeah.
this is why we were
Okay.
taking
All
photos
right.
yesterday.
Okay.
So
Wait, I
this,
saw the one with beards.
yeah, I posted that one. I was gonna tweet it. I'll tweet it after
All
this.
right.
But yeah,
I was like, wow, they're really bonding as a team now. They're gonna take a photo together. We're doing a great job.
there is a bearded version of this photo. As you can see, Bob and I obviously don't. I don't have a beard.
Mhm, mhm.
I really
It's-
can't be a real member until we do. But this is us. So this is these are the folks that test the engine. How many of us are there? 20.
Yeah, we've got a couple guys out in the UK as well.
Yep.
One of our guys is actually on his way out to Seattle to start working
Right.
out to the Seattle branch. and,
The VR Blueprint team, right?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
and
Cool.
so yeah, it's a solid team. There's a lot to cover all the time. And somehow we make it work. So
Some sleepless nights, right?
yeah, there are some long days, but yeah.
We're primarily divided into two teams, so, well, sort of two groupings,
Yep.
plus some. So there's a set of us, and that would be my part of the team that does the platform side. So getting your projects out to iOS, anything that, once you've finished your project, getting it out to those platforms, that is where
The deployment side.
Yeah.
the deployment
Yeah, so you work
side.
with Josh, right?
Yeah,
Josh
I work
Adams.
with Josh Adams. Yeah, so we are concerned with getting the platform side working, and Nick does the actual in-editor.
Yeah, so we're more
Functionality.
content creation using the in-editor tools, and it's so like working with Matt Kay and
Mhm.
Nick Penwarden and those guys for in-editor features, and
I was just thinking, is like, can we describe our lead engineers by hair color or something? Josh wins. Was he purple fuchsia these
He's
days?
red. He's
Oh,
kind
he's
of
red.
red
He's
right
He's
now.
something right now.
He's
I told him
something.
he
He's
had to
all-
change from purple. We couldn't match. We couldn't be on the same team and match.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be too much.
Yeah, we're close.
Close.
Not quite there.
but yeah, it's definitely greatly changed since I first started. I've been on Engine for about 3 years now, and when I started here, even Shelly was on the team.
Woo!
So there was
Epic shells.
6 of us. I think I was number 7. And yeah, it was getting too big then. And the 7 of us did QA build testing, UDK testing, form support, licensee support. Now we have a fully separate dedicated team, Steven and Alex's team, that does form support, answer hub support.
Alex is in the chat. High
Yeah.
five, Alex.
High five. We'll give you
Yeah,
air
high
five.
five.
Can we make this double awkward air high five?
Air high five. There we go.
We can make it octuple awkward if you wanted.
We could.
We could, but we won't,
Yeah, we
thankfully.
won't.
And we're going to carry on with the stream now. Yay.
So yeah, it's as the engine has grown, we've been trying to grow up alongside of it.
Mhm.
So it's a lot to catch up, but we're getting there.
Yeah, I would say especially the last year and change since we made the engine out there. Well, it wasn't free initially, but it's free now, right? It's
Right.
been a roller coaster, and that mad rush of, oh God, we're releasing a version every month or so. But I think we've growing the team, probably improving communication between engineering and QA of like, hey, by the way, we did a bunch of shit. Oh, okay, we should test that, right?
Yeah.
Versus finding out afterwards.
That never happens.
And to be
Never.
fair, I think we probably still have some work to do there, right? But
It's getting a lot better.
Yeah.
I mean, in the past, I mean, one of the bigger things that we're starting to do is start getting QA embedded with the developers, and just
Mhm.
opens a lot bigger communication. I mean, in the past, it was very much, here's the QA room, devs come in with
Mhm.
questions or emails go out, and
Yeah.
now it's just a little bit earlier in the work process of like, someone puts in a new tool, it's not really ready, but QA can immediately start looking at it or trying to. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that this is all a normal part, and any folks out there in QA understand it's a life cycle, right? We grow, it's a breathing process, it's a
Mhm.
living one, so, and it's also a lifestyle. I tell that to my team a lot. So it's one of
Yep.
those things where you got to make some lifestyle changes to make things work out
Mhm.
that way, but QA and development in general, it's not a stagnant thing. You always have to change, and as your project grows and as you reach different milestones, you have to change the way that you're testing and the way that you're developing to fit that need. So
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of challenges as we continue to, we're always adding new stuff to the engine. There's always new interesting platforms and hardwares around the corner, right, that we want to support. And I think it's challenged, things like automation. Can we scale some of this stuff? Another big effort that's been part of this too is revamping our whole build system for the engine, right? And
Yep.
I mean, how long was a turnaround for a build previously? It's like, I remember it was like we were like halfway through waiting, 4 hours into a build to pop, and like, yep, no, that one's already dead too. Need a new one.
Yeah, we got to. Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing comes from like, if you're just building the editor, it's one thing, but we're building the editor
Yep.
soon to be on 3 platforms. You're building all the samples and their editors,
Yeah.
and I think at the most it was taking like 12 hours to get
Oh,
all
jeez.
the stuff we would ship for a rocket build out,
Yeah.
and it was just huge turnaround times, and it
Yeah.
just, that fix didn't work. All right, we will get
We will
get it at and we
Hopefully.
can always sync up and compile locally, but
Yeah.
to on our side, we always feel much better when we actually get it to test it in the end product that you guys get. Like there are times that just the slight differences between the precompiled binaries that people download and
Mhm.
just the raw compiled just doesn't line up. So
Yeah, the other thing that I always found interesting about the QA was the sort of, there's just straight up testing of, if I click this thing happens, and then there's the more valuable but harder to detect, especially as we ramp people up on the tools, is like, did the right thing happen? Like I tried to
Yes.
build X, Y, or Z, and somehow it didn't work, even though each individual step, didn't crash or whatever, right?
Yep.
And it's a pretty interesting challenge, especially when you look at systems like Blueprints, man. Like personally, I'd be scared to be the QA on Blueprints. Like, God help you. There's just so many edge cases and things going wrong, right? But also
Yeah.
that presents a lot of interesting challenges.
He looks at the crowd.
I'm like,
Sorry,
no,
sorry.
no, that's Patrick. Patrick's
Yeah,
on his way out
Patrick's
to
the one,
Seattle.
yeah.
No, Patrick will, he kills it on there. I've already started shifting. So in the past, we've just kind of been, as we were smaller, everyone kind of had to be a jack of all trades, so we could context switch a lot.
Yep.
As we started to grow, people have started to become more specialized, or what we're starting to shift towards is, instead of a bucket QA team of, like trying to make sure that Matt K and the tools guys has at least 1 or 2 dedicated people of like, hey, this is what we're doing, or Chelsea
Mhm.
with the platform guys, like this person is specializing in Xbox or iOS, and everyone knows a little bit about everything, but really having someone to say like, this is the person to go to,
Mhm.
will just really start driving that faster loop between dev and QA. And
They know the things you might run into,
Yep.
the specific intricacies of that
Yeah.
platform or that.
yeah, and then
specific tool.
the more times you are context switching, you're never getting as deep into it. You have enough time of, yes, this functionality works. I really want to go and I want to make a small little scene with this tool right now.
Yeah.
But there's 4 other things I need to make sure functionally works before I can get to that qualitative side. And so I've actually started dedicating time, I forget what I call it, like test through development,
Mhm.
to make sure that, a lot of the guys on our teams will go home and they'll make stuff at home or side projects. And so they are using the product as an end user as well. It is a hard shift to go not to look at the engine as the product that you're working on testing, to actually go and use it sometimes. It usually takes me probably about a half an hour to hour to be like, stop, this
Seeing all the
this
things are
button is
wrong,
out of
yeah,
place.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
just I will look at that tomorrow. I need to,
Yeah.
you know, I wanna work on my game, and so.
Tester
but
life never ends.
no,
Nick.
it doesn't.
It
It
never
really
ends.
doesn't. It's sad when I think we had some point we were using Test Track,
Mhm.
and they had bugs, and one of our guys had bugged a
Test Track
yeah,
bug?
they had set them a bug, and so it's like you always hit that. It's just that mindset of like
Mhm.
so. But yeah, trying to get more time for guys to actually, you know, part of it is learning too. Like it's one thing when you kind of get outlined by a developer of here's the golden path of how this tool is supposed to work, and
Yep.
you know, we'll ad hoc test around it and kind of
Yep.
get, you know, we'll break it. We'll make them cry sometimes and be like, yeah, I didn't think about that, but
There's an interesting one-man wolf pack. Sorry, I should have said that louder. It's all caps.
And it's
he's
also underscored too, so I don't know if that means you just see them really
like
quickly.
one man, like really draw it out.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, so the more important thing there, he's talking about hard to reproduce bugs. Yeah, that happens a lot, especially there's. I remember many late nights crunching on games, for example, and some QA guy adamantly, he's like yelling at me, "Your shit's broken, right?" And I'm like, "No, I don't believe you. It doesn't. It works on my machine. right?
Works on mine.
Works on my machine."
Yes.
I mean, it would come down to like
WMM.
angry, like finally I captured it on video, right? And that's actually something we did on the engine there for a while. I think we still use it internally, right? Is like if there's a crash, we can capture some of the like last 10 seconds of video or something.
Yeah, we have it off by default. It was.
Is that something developers can enable for themselves for their own QA projects? That might be really good to write up about, if not.
Yeah, I know it was in edit. I don't know if we ever brought that over to in-game side of it. I know there's a dash command you can go to pull it back up. I'd have to look at what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, but a video of things going wrong
Yes.
is incredibly invaluable, right?
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
valuable, so.
It's proven. It is happening. Like
Yes.
I will pull up my
Yes.
phone sometimes. Like I mainly work on
Yeah.
Mac, so using QuickTime to do
Yep.
screen captures is really easy. But every once in a while you'll pull that app, and you know something's flickering, and as soon as you have the screen capture going,
Yeah.
it stops flickering. You're like,
Yeah.
no.
Oh, God.
I swear it was happening.
I remember, God, sorry, war stories of Gears, like Rod and I just trying to triage ourselves back to, we got to ship this thing at some point. And there's that certain class of bugs, you're like, yep, let's just mark this one can't reproduce, and it'll be back in a few days, but that'll be fine. It's off the play for now. We can hit 0 tonight and go home and feel good about ourselves.
Oh, no one ever wants to hear that.
I know. It's bad.
It's making my tester
I
heart
know.
cry.
The thing is, like, you can't reproduce it, so somebody else will have to.
No,
to
you
be able to,
like, do you see it? I don't see it. Okay, gone.
I'm going to start crying right now.
Yeah. No,
That's the reality of software. Is a ton of bugs
Sure.
are in there in live products, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I mean, definitely on post 4.7, we did a little bit of craziness with getting 4.7 together, which I think we had a bit of stability and some backlog of issues to work through on that, right?
Yeah.
Well, how many hotfixes did you make? 6?
6.
6.
Yep.
4.7.6.
Yeah,
But with all
4.7.
the previews, it was something like
Yeah, we had
15.
eight previews, the original launch, and then 7 hot fixes.
Yep.
Awesome.
It was
15 releases total for the QA team to go through. So we treat all of them. Well, you'll see that. We're going to get to that. So
Yeah.
you'll get to see what we're doing.
Cool.
Oh.
Maybe we should move into that.
Oh,
Yeah.
we've got Mr. Josh Adams in the stream
Yeah,
as well.
Josh is in the chat.
So this kind of
Oh, yes.
outlines.
Sending you your project also really helps.
Yeah.
That's what Josh
Yes.
said.
No. I'm gonna try to think of all my embarrassing stories of Josh now. So
Oh, gosh.
Okay.
So this is kind of we had some questions about what we do. So this is kind of a generic what we go through in order to get the product from sort of testing inception all the way through. So we do a smattering of daily testing. Some of that is actually daily testing, some of these things. Some of it is we do every Tuesday, we do the same set of tests. So just to generally look at stability, that can be in both main and releases, branches. So those tests are geared towards giving developers information about it's kind of a heartbeat. Are we doing okay? Where are we with this? So the daily testing is important on the development side. The main testing, that would be our mainline trunk or main code base there, is generally geared towards new feature testing. So those new things that are going in, we want to make sure that those are working before we branch off. So it's really key that we take a look at those new features, get test cases in, start to look at how we can deprecate old stuff, add in the new, and then of course we want to take a look at stability. I mean, that's key. We always want to make sure that we're not regressing anything. We want all the functionality that should work to work always. So, and then we have the release side testing, and you'll notice that there's a lot here, and that's because we focus a lot to getting these releases out the door to you guys. So while we're going through the preview process, we're also going through all this compatibility testing, some stability. Any hotfix that comes out, we go through a special round of testing for that. Any large-scale demos that go out with the release, we're testing those blockers and common issues, new feature improvements, and then the biggest part of this, which isn't listed, which I think is a mistake on my part, is regression testing. So what we call regression testing in QA, which is we run our full test suite and we say, you know, A to Z for our test cases, we work or we don't, and if it doesn't work and it did previously, that's obviously a regression from where we were. So we want to make sure that things are working. Or the negative side of testing, things that didn't work should still not work. That is key. Don't ever forget that in testing. So sometimes things will walk out the door and you'll be like, yep, that wasn't supposed to work, but it did. Or
I'm okay with that.
Those are fun.
Seems like a win here.
Yeah.
It's
Is it a bug or a feature?
yeah.
We can call it a feature.
Yeah.
We can call it a
New
feature.
features.
Little gift.
Cool. Ooh.
So
We have a pipeline now.
yeah, we're going to take you through. You'll see this lovely smart art graphic down along the bottom. We're actually going to skip through some of these, so we're not going to take you through the whole thing. But if you ever wanted insight into what we do to make a test, this is it. So we start off with scenarios. Those are generic, verify that, or check to see that a feature, something, does what it's supposed to do. So they're usually one sentence. They can also be in list format, and you don't want to think about how. So you don't want to answer the question of how am I going to test this. You just want to say, what am I actually doing? These can be really simple. So in Agile, some of you may be working in that sort of environment. What we're looking for here is acceptance criteria and requirements. So if someone's giving you a requirement that something has to perform, let's say performance-wise, in a given amount of time, we would write a scenario that says, make sure the game pops up within whatever that requirement is, or that whatever time bound or requirement that we're given is actually happening.
Whoa.
So this is where it gets interactive. So this is my favorite.
Is that you, Nick?
Yes.
Yes,
Yep.
that's
Test
Nick.
dummy.
So feel free to blow up the chat with these ideas, but the scenario is we're testing a roller coaster. This is really important because you got people's lives on the line here. Think of a couple of short scenarios for how you would test that a roller coaster actually works. So, yeah, I mean, this is a real thing. There are
All right.
people who do
No.
this.
We're going to see. Is Chance qualified? Can you? Come on, do it.
To see how a roller coaster really works?
Yes.
Yeah.
What would you test?
What would I test to make sure that
It's-
it actually that the restraints hold bodies in? Around
That's
the
a
corners?
great scenario right there.
Yeah.
So verify that your restraint actually
Because I'm
works.
mortified of that. So
Yeah.
step one, be scared. Step two,
Wow.
identify what you're scared about.
I would just push the button and make sure it moved. Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
that. I mean,
There are so many of these things.
Yeah.
And you
Yep.
got to think about even the small things. Verify that when I press the green button, that it actually goes. Or what if the seat's empty? We want to make sure that the restraint stays down.
This just makes me glad I'm a programmer for games and not for medical equipment or rocket ships, for example, right?
Yeah.
The level of testing required and 0 regressions, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no joke.
Yeah. Can't bring back that crashed, one that crashed on Mars or.
No, there wasn't.
Or,
What was the Elon Musk thing that they crashed? Was it a programming error or something? It was like some unit conversion error.
Yeah.
Right? Classic mistakes.
Yeah.
Cool.
So let's see.
Test it fully loaded.
Yeah,
Test
that's
it
what I say.
overloaded.
Yeah, I
What
think
was it?
those are great. So those are great examples
If I
of
built the roller coaster, I'd sit at first and go at full speed. All right. So you are.
a daredevil.
Daredevil.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I think Kashar, I would guess that's how we're pronouncing it. It's got
That's Jan.
uh,
His name. Yeah, Kashar.
Okay.
has a really good point there. Those are limit tests, and those are excellent ways to start your testing off. How do we want to test the high end? How do we test the low end? And then kind of, making it up from there. So make a copy of it, and Roller Coaster Tycoon is also a really great idea. One of my favorite ways to test roller coasters.
Yeah.
There's always that missing part at the top of a hill. That one just always seems to occur.
Yes.
But cool.
All right. So then we've already got our scenarios written. Now we need to organize them into actual test cases. So this is where we start the fun here of grouping into future test cases. So what you want to make sure of here is that you're not grouping things that are way too complicated together. You wouldn't want to make failure of one thing constitute another. So test cases are usually fairly discrete. In that way, we want to make sure that they're independent, that you're not depending on the test case before that to run and succeed. So you really want to make sure that this organized step is reviewed really well and that you're getting the right things in the right places.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the goals of these is to almost make them more like unit tests, so it kind of brings the front line of this could be eventually automated, and it alleviates a lot of the work off of those that are going to implement automation, because it's very much like open the editor, add an asset to the world. If you're doing all these other things of changing material, change the scale, change this, change that, there's a lot of things that could be tested individually that by the end will have an effect, but was it really the combination of them all, or was it just one item that really caused it? So the more that you start complexity of a test case, it makes it very difficult to say this is really what's failing.
So the last part here is just making your test cases. So you obviously want to execute them as you go. I really want to get the chance to answer some questions. I know we're short on time here. So this is your end project, right? This is what we base all of our testing on. These things get reviewed and executed. You want to include lots and lots of information here. Why don't you go ahead and pull up a version of ours so folks can see what we're actually working with day to day. So here is an example of how our test cases at Epic here work. So you can see the description up there has our scenario in it. And then if we scroll down, we actually go into the test steps themselves. So you'll see that there are really specific details here. There's screenshots. So the idea of a test case is that you want anybody, even a brand new person who may not even know the editor that well, they need to be able to do these things. So our test cases are geared towards that idea. And then you can see our test case management software here. Zephyr is keeping track of those, so that's another important part. You can use spreadsheets, you can use all kinds of things. I will say test case management software, if you're getting into serious testing, is a lifesaver.
Yes.
Like this tells us that we were okay for preview 1, for preview 3, for everything. So we have a really great way of keeping track of everything with this means of software.
Coming in the past, and I think when Shelly was on it with us, like all our test steps were in the wiki. We would execute through spreadsheets. There was no, and then we were using test tracks, so nothing was connected. Here now with everything and using Zephyr with Jira, bug goes in, it's immediately linked. Next time we go through the test step, we say, what happened last time? Oh, there's this bug. Oh, it's fixed. I can verify this out, or it's still marked as to get fixed. I'm probably going to hit this again. So you're a lot more in the loop about things.
And you can have, like with those integrations, have it reassigned to the person who reported it, so they can verify that it's fixed, and then that goes back to that producer or whatever. Right?
So we can take a look at a bug as well, because I know again we're running short on time. So any bugs that we would have logged would have shown up in that test case. There was an example of it, but this is an example of our bugs. And again, we want to make sure that any developer can run this. They may not be an expert in that area, but someone needs to be able to reproduce the issue. So that's the most important thing in any bug report, right? Is giving as much detail as possible and giving the repro and where you found it and when and the change list associated with it and all that stuff. Really important key stuff here in QA.
And I think a lot of times some of those important bits are tough to kind of identify the first time. Then the second time you start thinking about them, right? Like, okay, these are the things that I did. This is kind of the order of operations. So
and there's a lot of times off the start, people will be like, all right, what is everything I just did? And you'll come up with like 40 steps, And it was really only like the last 2 steps that the
Yeah.
actual issue came
Right.
from. So sometimes like it is hard, especially when you hit issue and you didn't realize maybe it was a little bit delayed. There's crashes that wasn't what you immediately had done. It was, 60 seconds before that. So backtracking enough to kind of think what you were doing and then trying kind of incrementally stepping forward to see where you needed to actually get there. Because, on the other side, trying to follow 40 steps on a repro, there's a lot of places for someone to make user error.
Yep.
And I didn't, it works on my computer. It's like, well, you didn't actually go through all 40 steps.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I think that this too can change, right? What's important in a bug is really dependent on
Yeah.
where you are in the process and where you are in things. Sometimes we really want screenshots because it's very specific to that. Sometimes the logs are really key, and sometimes those logs change. So even in games, especially in projects with the editor, there are 3 or 4 different logs in some cases. One of those logs is going to have your answer, so the
Wow.
importance there changes.
Yeah, or there's all kinds of fun classes of bugs like multiplayer, for example, right? Where
Yeah.
hey, you get to reproduce this, you need 8 clients.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually had a bug in an Xbox, the original Xbox One title, where it was like, it was for voice communication, right? And basically, I had a nice little comment that said, if data size is bigger than X, split it into another packet. Well, I had put the comment, but I forgot to write the code, so it would just cram it in and it'd buffer overflow. That only happened, and it took us I took them 6 months to be able to reproduce it reliably. It was like had to be a full play test session where at least like 4 or 5 people were talking at the same time to create enough data to trigger
wow.
it. Those are awesome.
No.
And you love those class of bugs because you get like cool little nicknames. Like we had Spiky Mesh Bug for a long time on a project. I don't think we actually fixed it. I think we just found enough like exception handling to make it go away. I don't know. Maybe Josh remembers that one.
Yeah, there are some. Sometimes some things are easy to give a description to. Sometimes you're just like, it's that I don't even know. Like,
Yep.
screenshot. Look at it. This is what's happening.
Bugs are life, man.
And I think the last important thing in our ecosystem that we can show you is our execution navigator. So in QA we call these test plans. We also in Zephyr they call them test cycles, but it's basically all of your test cases grouped into one and you're running through it. So we tend to think of test plans as feature based or like very specific to your project. So we can kind of break that up with a cycle here, but we can see all the bugs that happen, all the things that are important to us, how severe the bugs are even. So lots of information here, really key for historical tracking, key for looking at your stability. So you always want to try and give yourself all the information that you need, of course, but in a really logical format. So we want to know the health of the preview. We can take a look at something like this, a test cycle, which tells us this is where we are. And then we can go in depth and look at the test case itself and say this is how well it's worked in the past.
I really hope that we're releasing all kinds of interesting secrets by showing our internal juras.
Yeah.
We showed all the schedules for the game. Yeah, when it's
Yeah.
coming out. Okay,
Yep.
good.
It's all there.
Awesome.
cool.
That's how we do our announces now. Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's all.
Chance's social security was buried in one of those bugs. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
it's
fine.
okay. I've got LifeLock or something like that.
Yep, your phone's been blowing
Didn't
up.
they go?
That's-
Yeah, didn't they go bankrupt? Yeah.
They probably did, but I still pay them. Should I stop?
No, it's okay. Money's probably better off with them
Yeah,
anyways.
yeah, sure. I'm certainly not that great with it.
Cool.
So you guys got to see this stuff. This is
Yep.
the most important, exciting stuff to us. But
Yeah.
so what comes in
The
the future, right?
future.
So we want to automate. Obviously, we want to continue to grow that automation framework.
Yeah, one of the things I did recently, so we do a lot of mobile compatibility testing, especially since we do a ship Tappy Chicken with every release, and so, someone had to play Tappy Chicken on all these different devices, and
Poor souls.
Yeah, they got good.
Yeah, I bet they did.
They got good, but so one of our QA engineers now has mobile deployment where it'll push out to all the different devices, and he's actually got Tappy Chicken scripted up through blueprints to play itself. So you say, you
that's
tell it
awesome.
like, I want you to go 50 posts,
Yeah,
and
Well, that's dangerous though, because you might be missing some actual use case now, right?
Yeah, in mobiles, I used to work a lot of mobile development and just getting, passing what you call what you consider cert, for
Yep.
those devices across.
No, weren't there companies that had like robot fingers?
Yep. Yeah,
And
that's
you'd
what
have
I'm
a
saying, like,
script of they would.
you end up going into
Yeah.
automation testing,
Yeah.
and we would set up build servers that whenever it would, we'd push a commit to develop, it would then run across all devices at night,
Yep.
on the schedule. And then we could come in and just see like green, red, red, red,
Yep.
red, green, red, green. It's like, okay, great. So what
Yep.
did we mess up?
Yep.
Automation is never like it's a wonderful tool, right?
Yep.
But it is a testing aid. It's not to
Yeah,
get
yeah.
rid of anybody, to get rid of your QA. Actually, it's horrible to do that. This it gives us the time to really look into the in-depth stuff, the stuff
Mhm.
that really
Do the more meaningful work, right?
exactly. Yeah. So someone had asked about the tedious work. Samples are largely that kind of thing. When you have to tap a chicken through some posts 50
Well,
50 times.
yeah,
that's-
all the bugs don't kick in until after 10 or 15, yeah.
Yep.
Let's see. Nightly binary builds. Nick, you want to talk to that one?
I mean, this is something that you've talked about for a while too, as well, right? It's,
Mhm. Someday we'll get there.
Yeah. So internally, we have this. We with 4.7 or 4.8, we've changed how our build system works. In the past, the binary build was built separately than most of our internal builds. Now it's just one full pipeline. So we're starting to just make sure that binary builds for internal use are constantly being built. So first major hurdle is there, and then eventually it's just how do we find the best way to deploy that out that makes it useful for people to be like, I don't want bleeding edge through GitHub. I just want to
Mhm.
hit download, and it updates, and I get the new one and can check out whatever new is there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's 50-50. Like, we love the notion of at any point, if people are blocked or waiting on some fix, we don't have to do an expensive hotfix process for that. They can just grab it right away. The flip side too is like, if you're hitting a certain point in your project, then nightly builds probably won't be valuable necessarily, right? It's much more of like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
find the right version of the engine for you, and then complete development, and then snap to the latest when that comes out for the next project, and so on, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you're getting to the point where, especially if you're getting close to shipping, like, you have to really be careful about changing your engine over. I mean, that's true with anything. Like, adding in extra variables for trying to get to that point, whether it's your changes or it could be our changes. But the idea of, for those that just like seeing what's new all the time, like, that's kind of I assume the bigger purpose of the nightlies are.
Yep.
So,
Yep, and we'll have public Jira someday.
one day.
We talked
Yeah.
about it yesterday again, right? And then we
Yeah.
all sighed. Nobody has any time apparently to work on it, but no, the community will help us somehow.
Definitely,
Yep.
yeah, and it's worth pointing out with that SI, like, it's something that we want to do. It's not
Yes.
something that we're trying to hold back. Right,
Oh,
by
yeah,
any-
yeah. No, it's
by
a
any
good
means.
kind of sigh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good and sad. Yeah.
Yeah, one of my guys had linked me. Minecraft uses Jira as a public-facing database, and that theirs, I think they had like 70-some thousand bugs logged, and
Oh, geez.
it was a little terrifying to think of how many will come in on us.
Oh,
But
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's extra work there of like filtering the duplicates and whatnot. But I mean, we do a lot of that already just through the team that works with the forums and direct support and Answer Hub, right? But yeah, I think it'll be awesome. Not only the vision there is like report an issue, it gets acknowledged and ingested, and you see it in public Jira, or maybe you put it directly there, and then you can track it as it goes through a cycle and see when it's coming out the other end, right? And the other cool thing too is someday we could just not even need Trello as part of our system to show the roadmap, because all of our new feature development at one point or another ends up in Jira, right? As either an epic or some sort of task, right? So it'd be awesome to have just one place you go to get the nitty gritty of everything that's going on, literally day to day, hour by hour at Epic, right? So.
Very similar to
Steven.
Steven's working on it. He was in the room with the size.
He was in the room with the size.
I think he had the biggest sigh of all.
Yeah.
And then he pulled out his Steven voice.
His
Yeah,
Steven
his
voice.
Steven voice. So great. He has the best voice.
So the last couple of things there, we do want to hopefully with the bug database thing be more transparent on the test case side, show you guys what we're testing, improve that, get some ideas from you all. That goes along with hand in hand with the last part. So testing is a very communal activity in the sense of we only get better by hearing everybody's ideas, finding out what you're testing, finding out how you're testing it. That's how we find our bugs. That's how we find out about your bugs. It's the preview system, right? But crowdsourcing the the testing is always helpful. We only know what we know. So hearing back from you guys on stuff is always awesome.
Cool. All right. Are we diving into
It's
Q&A
time for the
time?
questions. Dun, dun, dun. Let me have this little friend.
Andrew, what have you cooked up for us? Or sorry, Alexander.
Dun, dun. So some of these we've probably actually gone through a little bit too.
Yeah.
Okay. QA team structure.
Yeah,
There's people and things and
Yeah.
titles.
Yeah.
We do stuff.
We
Okay.
do stuff.
Cool. I'll go ahead and pull that. I'm going to try to manage it from over here since it's a little easier than reaching across.
All right.
Yeah, what are your most tedious test cases?
Oh gosh.
So we have like 50 samples.
Yeah,
somewhere
between
close to that.
templates and
Do you have special punishment ones, like when somebody's been acting up? Like, guess
Right.
what?
Yeah.
You're gonna go test Happy Chicken.
yes.
And
On
no automation.
on
Yeah.
every device.
Double collision. Android.
There are
full
only-
suite.
Double collision.
You hear lots of sad chickens that day.
Yeah.
Lots where eggs were born. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty tedious. The samples work. The endless bug loop can also get kind of tedious. We've talked about
Yeah.
that. Like, can't reproduce, but you can, and that sort of thing. You get stuck in that. And then last is finding our aggression range.
Yeah.
That one can be pretty
That one-
painful.
Those times, I mean, there's certain points where we'll give a broad range of like this worked in 4.7.6 and now it's broken in 4.8, and some changes that a developer looks at it and that file's only been changed once in the last month, and other times it's had so many hands on it that they really need help tracking down, so we'll start binary searching down to like get it down to a couple change lists for them. So that it can be a good chunk of your day.
Cool. So yeah, ad hoc testing, and anybody on the team working on games in you before, like building stuff. I mean, Nick and I made some awesome games
Yes.
in Orlando.
Yes.
About 6 months ago. That was
You-
kind of the best.
Have you shown that off?
I haven't yet.
You should do that next week. That got the crowd going.
Yes, it did.
Once we figured out I think at that point you two are on a jetpack. Brawl.
Oh yeah, jetpacks.
Yeah.
So,
It hasn't
ooh.
died yet. We're just not talking about it. And now we are.
I think ad hoc testing is like the tester's utopia, sort of, because that's like we're getting to go in and look at a new feature or kind of a problem area and sort of scout it out. So do we get to do it? Yes. Do we get to do it as often as we like? No. So that's that kind of exploratory ad hoc sort of testing. That's what we all kind of live for. Those are the exciting moments.
There's some quality punning happening in the chat, by the way, Chance.
I'm sure.
Just want to make sure you don't miss
Is
that.
it P-Fist? Is it Nick?
It might be. Is
This-
QA
yep,
as
it's
bad
it's
as it
Nick.
says it
Thanks,
is?
Nick.
Aspects of any job that can be terrible.
Yeah. I mean, this kind of goes hand in hand with, you get a lot of people, and especially anytime, I mean, for me, anytime I'm like, oh, you work at Epic, you play games all day. It's like, yes.
I get that all the time.
That is exactly what I do. I play games.
Yeah.
And even that, I mean, there are definitely overlaps between testing the engine and testing the games. The engine is a little bit more software oriented, where everyone's like, yeah, I want to go play, Fortnite all day and test that. And you think about it, and you're like, it's not sitting at home on your couch playing a game or at your
Right.
computer and just enjoying it for it. It's like
Trying to
"All right,
break the landscape.
I need you to walk over this path 40 times until we hit this
Yeah, yeah,
crash.
Yep.
Or
it's
Yep.
a surefire. Like never participate in like something you love
Yeah.
for that kind of stuff, because you will learn to hate it, right? Like, oh, wouldn't it be fantastic to like work on World of Warcraft? No, I actually still want to be able to enjoy it, right?
Yep.
I think we just had a question in the chat too to kind of move it up. There was one that was like transitioning between games
Oh,
and
software.
traditional software
Yeah, yeah.
development. That this is kind of that arena, right? So I came from software development. I was not a game person originally. So there's lots of room for transition in that. I
Yep.
think testing and QA in general, it is a mindset of process, right? So you can apply that anywhere, and we want any tester to be as good at testing medical software as they are at testing our games and the engine. There are different regulations for both, right? But it's the same general process. So there's a lot of overlap there, and
Yeah.
it kind of moves into the next question of skills. So
I think, well, yeah, the methodology is consistent, right? I think early days of game QA was Wild West. You're just like, I just need somebody to play this, right? And,
Yeah.
and then we realized, well, maybe there's a smarter way to do it, right? And even, you know, when we hired Brad, I think he was one of our early software engineers in test, right?
Yep.
Which, you know, outside of games is pretty common, right? You know,
Yeah.
large
Oh,
corporations
yeah.
have had that for a while. But for games, it's a relatively new concept, right? So it's cool, lots of opportunity.
Yeah.
And somebody says, do I not enjoy making games? I love making games.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
No,
Just,
it's
just anything you love, be careful about doing it 10,000 times a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You might learn to hate it.
Yep.
or you'll see parts of it that you didn't
Yeah.
necessarily before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing too, I love making games. I don't necessarily love playing the games that I make, if that's a distinction. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was, you know, when I started going through school for game development, and it was that break point of people would start asking me, like, I'd be in the middle of a multiplayer match staring at a wall trying to figure out how they had like done this material or something that
Yeah.
totally broke immersion, and so you'll
Yeah.
start
Yeah,
finding
yeah.
that.
You guys were talking about that sort of that mindset. It's hard to turn that off, right? I remember being in the security line at the airport. I'm like, wow, this is totally unoptimized. Like, well, they should totally use a different kind of queue here, right?
Yep.
It can ruin it. Or yeah, you play other people's games and you want to switch out of that developer mode and into
or even games you like.
Yeah,
Once
yeah.
you start getting to the point where you're like, I can't get over the fact that this
Well-
is operating this way. You know,
Yeah.
just
No.
Yeah.
What ruined me is, you know, our big push for this last GDC and the Boy in This Kite cinematic, you know, it was a big part of photorealism in that environment. We're doing photogrammetry and really like, you know, Kim was yelling at us about the lighting, the shadow, whatever. It's not perfect, right? And then what that did is after like enough of those dailies, and I wasn't even heavily in it, but enough exposed to it, I'd go watch like a movie or something, and I'd totally ruin it because every like VFX scene, I'm like, oh, here's how it's broken, here's how it's broken. Like, thanks, Kim. You totally ruined life for me now. Like,
Gosh, yeah.
anyways.
So, yeah, but yeah, attention to detail. I mean, when we were getting to QA, like the small things matter. I mean, they're not. You get down to like, oh, it's misspelled, and
Yeah.
I mean, there are really small things, but you know, small things start adding up, and they can cause larger problems.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I would say, some of the better people probably have a little bit of an OCD tendency. Like, it's just
Really?
maybe just a little. But it's also, you know, being able to problem solve and troubleshooting. Like, there are times that you're just not going to be given a lot of information. It's like someone hands you a Rubik's Cube. How do you test it? Like,
Yep.
what is it? you
Make
know?
sure it works. Duh.
Yeah.
That's all
Yeah.
they want.
Yep. Make sure
You
this
push
works.
the
Well,
button and
what
does it
is
go,
what
right?
is
What
this?
is
Right?
this? Right.
Yeah, I think that is key because there's a level of independence that is important in quality assurance. You need to be able to walk and talk to someone, give them the bad news that they're baby, because you know, as developers, as we're all invested in this project
Right.
and product. So to come up to someone and say like it's wrong or it's bad or something is horribly amiss, it's tough. It shouldn't be personal, but it is. We're all invested in this. So we tend to be the people who have to give the bad news. So you
Yeah.
need to be independent enough to be able to handle that and to be able to investigate and say, look, this is just a little bit off, and handle the situation tactically, you know. So
Yep. I don't know. How many more questions can we take?
Yeah. We have a little bit of time.
Okay.
We'll probably count about
Okay.
5 or
Okay.
6 more.
5 or 6.
Let's come down.
How many
here.
Epic developers work on Unreal Engine 4?
Yeah.
More than the 4 in this room.
I think Josh answered that question
Did he?
earlier in the chat. Yeah.
Oh, did he?
What did
Yep.
he say though? I'm curious.
Enough.
Enough.
Well,
Not enough.
not enough,
That
yeah.
is the wrong answer.
Yeah.
God, there's so many things we would do if we had infinite people and time
Yeah.
and resources. Oh.
What's Jill's relationship with the preview builds? Like, when those come out,
Mhm.
what kind of test passes do we even give on those?
So
Well,
for-
we branch, and then you guys are like, just put it out the door. Right?
Yeah,
There are-
that's
there are-
totally all we
yep.
do.
Yeah.
No.
There are some days that the editor opens. All right, that should be good. No, we have a much a little bit of a lighter test pass that we do. It's high functionality. We don't deep delve with the previews. I mean, we're doing constant testing to get into deeper testing, but just to get a preview out the door, like when we originally started them, the concept of what a preview was needed to be much more stable. Like, we wanted people to actually really use these.
Right.
And now they're more just kind of quick snapshots of where we are that week, how things are functionality. It's a way for people to report back issues to us.
It is specifically is like we know tons of people have unique content that we may not, that'll
Yep.
stress the engine in ways that we won't otherwise, right?
Yep.
So the quicker we can get that feedback, the better off we'll be, right?
Yep.
This is kind of an interesting one for engine too. How often does a feature not make it through QA? Something that seemed like a good idea but turned out not to be. Really, with us, it's less about this being a bad idea,
Yeah.
or just being
how
the
many
bad.
how many times do you go back to the dev team and be like, yeah, you guys are dumb?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like the whole
False
feature
start.
is it's less of a game where something that's just like it doesn't work,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And you can
Yeah.
just gotta cut it and move on.
Yeah.
Like the things that we put in,
I-
we have needs for,
Yep.
and others do too. So the light might just not be to quality.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, I had actually asked that earlier. We're starting to look at planning for 4.9. That was one of the questions I had because right now, just when we have kind of a feature complete stop is on the day that we're trying to branch, and we're looking at bumping that back a week just to kind of give a little bit more fallout time. And that was kind of one of my questions was like, so new features in, it's not quite to our quality standards, you know, when do we say it's just going to have to go to the next build, or can we really push to get it up to what we feel okay with? And
Right.
sometimes we'll use the experimental flags, which I like. I mean, it's kind of that middle ground of it's not quite ready for full time, but it would be good to get a lot of feedback on it too. Like there's some of them
Yeah.
that are just real big user workflows that.
Well, and even for experimental, our hope there is that the feature itself is still stable. It
Right,
just probably
yeah.
is not polished or
Yep.
you know less an ideal workflow, that kind of stuff.
Yep. Yeah,
but
we don't. Yeah, if it's just crashing or you can't do anything with it, we'll say sorry. You got to
Yeah.
take this out.
Well, I think there's also like a prioritization level just on the testing and development basis, right? So one hopes that you're prioritizing a whole lot of things. What is the most important feature? What's the most important thing? And sometimes we may go through and say this is a wreck, but because it is so high profile, it has to make it. So it's what constraints are you willing to deal with? Or do you have to hit a date? Do you have a certain number of resources that you have to meet? You know, we call it the triple constraints in software development. So it's, you know, where are your breakpoints and what do you have to do to get there? And that's the important thing in a feature, making it or not making it. What are you bound by? So
Yeah, and in a perfect world, like all releases would be gated by you guys saying, yes, this is good. It's going to be a great user experience. People are not going to come yelling at Chance with pitchforks and Molotov cocktails.
aw.
Yes.
It's okay.
Unless he's being a jerk that week, then we should totally make that
they,
happen.
they usually don't do it for that. They do it for reasons. I mean, they're self-inflicted.
Well,
Yeah,
they're
like,
not mutually exclusive. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. That's very true.
But yeah, and that's one thing too. You know, I've seen this a lot, and even in Epic's past, like the games industry and how it looks at QA. Often it's kind of like I look at UI, right? That sort of thing is like, yeah, it's sort of a necessary thing at the end of the process, right? And one thing we've really tried to change with Engine is just like, yeah, no, the quality of our release. That's like QA's biggest value is of helping us guarantee that we are doing the things we want to go do, right? And being that great check mark of like, hey Josh, stop adding more mobile features that that everybody cares about. meanwhile, you know, the whole thing's on fire. You get the point.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, yeah.
I hope or not. We should move on. It's
Well,
good.
there's a lot to you, like with that we've got a number of bug fixes happen before a release ever goes out, right? So there's
Oh,
probably
yeah.
there's a ton of stuff that we get in before a preview goes out that we
Yeah.
start talking about what's
I
in
think-
that.
I
The
think we
statistic
had
is crazy.
3,700 bugs that we verified out for this release. And that's
Wow.
assuming things were actually entered in, not
Corrected.
just a dev saw something and fixed it on the spot.
Yeah, yeah, and we've been pushing to get more rigorous about that, right? And I think we're not probably that far off from it. You know, Jira is really. When did we switch to Jira? Almost a year
November?
ago. Or 6 months ago.
October.
Yeah, it was when
it
I
was-
started
it was,
here.
It was right near the end of the year.
Yeah, and really, because previously for a long time we were using Test Track, and there was some teams that would use Test Track for feature tracking development, but primarily the guarantee was it was for defect tracking, right? And we were slowly transitioning for many reasons into everything goes through the central service, so we get to tie it all together. Eventually, when we can make it public, you know, the transparency, all that good stuff. So
Yeah. And there's one
lots
last
more
question.
for us to do, though. Yes, we got to answer one more question.
No, this last one up here. It's like, should I try a better solution?
Subversion?
It's
No.
like, yeah, SVN versus GitHub.
No.
Really depends on your project size, your team size, where you guys are located, and your budget. we use Perforce for a lot of reasons because
Well, for local teams, like Perforce has a great, was it like a less than 5-person local
Yes.
license or something?
Yeah.
Great for small teams prototyping, and it's really not that hard to set up the basics.
No.
At some point, you're going to want to get into journaling and backup and all that. It gets crazy. GitHub's an awesome like sort of turnkey solution, and I know once they launch their large media stuff, it should be even more viable for game development, right?
Right. Yeah, and I like it because it's lighter weight too.
Yeah.
It doesn't have exclusive checkout, which as long as you're smart about it,
Well,
you
you
can't really
should
stomp
still
each other's stuff.
you should still have exclusive on binaries, obviously. But
Yes, absolutely. But
well, the other great thing about GitHub, which is something I'd love to figure out to leverage better, is their GitHub project pages are awesome for just. It's not only here's my source code and all the things going on, but here's sort of my blog role if you want to use it that way, or they host
Right.
static pages and all that cool
yeah,
stuff.
you can put
right?
information on there for your
Yeah.
team or for the public
Yeah,
if it's
yeah,
open. People
exactly.
that don't necessarily aren't. It's for distributed source control, right? Like so,
Yeah.
if you've got people that don't talk to you every day on the phone or like in Hangouts or Skype, you can give them messages there, not just inside your commit messages, but
Cool.
on the front page itself.
Cool.
All right.
Are we?
I think we
Are
are
we
good.
Are we
So,
gonna have
well,
parting thoughts now?
Yeah, I guess so. Any last thoughts for
Last
the
thoughts.
teams out
Yeah.
Okay, next.
there? Great.
Yeah.
We really appreciate you guys
No.
listening to this. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
if you
is-
guys more questions, post them back onto the forum post, and we can always
yep.
Follow up, yeah.
answer up more there. And yeah, I mean, it's for us, for the more people that go into the previews, it just helps the community as a whole more.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, thanks a lot for hanging out with us. This has been great.
Mhm.
I hope you guys learned something. I know I did. That's for
Mhm.
sure.
Yep.
We will see you next week. I think Alexander's about to get a post up about the support stream on Tuesday, and we're still figuring out the details for Thursday. But thanks to everybody in the chat. Thanks for Josh, Shelly, everybody that's been supporting us the whole
Alexander,
thing.
yeah.
We will see you next time. Oh, I guess thanks,
Oh,
Ray.
oh, yeah, whatever. And then we forgot to mention, but we're super hopeful. Knock on
Oh,
soft
yeah,
cushion
yeah.
that 4.8 official will come out or stable next week, right?
Yeah.
So
We're
unless really bad things happen.
Yeah, so you can hold that against us and
Yeah,
beat
yeah.
it.
Totally. Something
you
to look
know,
forward to, right?
yeah, beat this guy.
Pitchforks at chance.
Shoot your
ideas.
arrows this direction if we are wrong.
All right.
Oh, we'll see you next week.
Bye bye.